Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If creating the strongest Straw Hat crew by reading manga. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 11. The ship collided. On the cabin, Logan paintbrush slip and make a scratch on the paper. What is Luffy doing? Logan said. Logan then put his brush on his inventory. Checking out his stat, he see the improvement on speed and defense attribute. He checked the system log classification interface again, and there was nothing in it. But what Logan didn't notice was that in the drop-down box of the log category interface, there was a finer division, including a system email category. This email interface was updated with an email today. Your manga fan Monkey D. Luffy has improved his strength in the world of the manga, Akame Ga Kill, and the development of his fruit has reached the 3rd level. You simultaneously obtain the 3rd gear ability of its fruit. Receive it while waiting for the host to check the mail. The boat is moving, isn't Luffy demolishing the ship? After thinking for a while, Logan turned off the system interface and walked outside. On deck, Luffy looked at a group of uninvited guests who came up, and tilted his head. Are you trying to rob? Boy, you're smart. Jump off here, this boat belongs to the most beautiful woman in East Blue. A pirate pointing a sword at Luffy arrogantly ordered. The most beautiful woman in East Blue? This time, Luffy was even more confused. He swayed his head from side to side and searched for a while. Where is it? Why didn't I see it? Bastard, blind your dog eyes. Ms. Alvida, the most beautiful woman in East Blue, is standing right in front of you, and you can't see it? Stupid, this is the most beautiful woman in East Blue. Luffy squinted his eyes, studying the burly pirate who claimed to be the most beautiful woman in East Blue. He scratched his head, looking genuinely puzzled. Although Luffy may seem carefree, his logical thinking is sound. He understands the underlying intentions of those around him. Pointing at Alvida incredulously, he remarked, Is this the savage ant you're referring to? What a shock! The pirate's eyes widened, and their jaws dropped simultaneously. Wild, savage ant. Hiss. After the initial shock, fear gripped their hearts. If they were to be entangled in Alvida's fury, it would be a perilous situation. The atmosphere on the entire deck suddenly turned gloomy, and the temperature seemed to drop a few degrees out of thin air. Alvida was known to be touchy, and crossing her path usually led to dire consequences. You little brat! Face your doom! With an enraged expression on her plump face, Alvida raised her mace without hesitation, aiming it at Luffy's head. Calling this beauty an ant? Well, this ant was about to show him his own brains. Boom! The mace descended heavily on Luffy's head, but instead of witnessing brain matter, Alvida was met with Luffy's smile. What? Hee, that won't work on me. Because I'm made of rubber. Under the brim of his straw hat, Luffy's wide grin was revealed. Now it's my turn. Luffy rubbed his shoulders, extending his arms backward. Then, to the astonishment of everyone, he shot towards Alvida's stomach like a cannonball. You know, in the original comics, even a newly seafaring Luffy could send Alvida flying. And now, this is Luffy, who has undergone a power-up. Although he refrained from using 2nd gear, let's not overlook the fact that his Haki prototype has also been enhanced. Even if it hasn't materialized as armament Haki yet, the prototype of Haki has undoubtedly elevated his strength. With a single punch, Alvida's eyeballs were on the verge of popping out. The next moment, boom! Under the tremendous force, her colossal body soared into the sky, tracing a beautiful trajectory before disappearing from everyone's sight. What? His hand transformed. Miss Alvida was sent flying. His devil fruit power! The henchmen who had relied on Alvida's faux authority now wore terrified expressions. They quickly dropped to their knees, pleading for mercy. Boom! The hatch swung open, and Logan emerged. Huh! What's going on? Initially thinking it was Luffy demolishing the ship, Logan was surprised to find the deck so lively. Glancing at the sky, Lauren pondered. Did something just get thrown out? The pirates' faces twitched involuntarily. Huh! Logan, you're out? Luffy rubbed his fists, a cheerful smile on his face. These guys tried to rob us, so I took care of their boss. Forgive us! We were coerced. Please spare us. We'll never turn to piracy again. Once again, the pirates pleaded for mercy. Okay. Get lost. Luffy had no grandiose plans. As long as they didn't bother him, he didn't mind. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your mercy. Let's go now. Wait a moment. At this point, Logan's words once again raised the anxiety levels of the pirates. He extended 2 fingers. Firstly, considering it was a skirmish on a pirate ship, you're free to leave, and all the treasures aboard are yours to keep. Secondly, we need someone knowledgeable about sailing to guide us to the next island. While Luffy exuded the aura of a protagonist, depending solely on him for navigation seemed a bit unreliable. As for Logan, well, that was out of the question. Now that they had encountered someone who could help, it was the perfect opportunity to address this issue. With Zoro waiting at the next destination, the journey could unfold according to the original plot. Loga had no interest in deviating from the established narrative. He just wanted a smooth ride. Me! I know a bit about sailing! Exclaimed a small man from the crowd. He had a parted head and glasses, and his shout seemed to summon the courage of several lifetimes. Captured by the pirates and relegated to the role of a ship's handyman, he had long yearned for escape. However, under the oppressive shadow of Alvida, he lacked the courage to break free. Now, witnessing Alvida being blown away before his eyes, he understood that if he didn't seize this chance, he might never be free. Okay, it's you. Logan nodded, pleased to see the volunteer was Kobe. In the original comic plot, Luffy reached Shell's Town with Kobe's navigation. However, due to Logan's interference, Luffy missed meeting Kobe, and as a result, both Logan and Luffy found themselves adrift at sea. With Kobe's appearance now, it was clear that the plot was getting back on track. Comfortable. Everything was back to normal, and Logan could continue to lie down in peace. Chapter 12. After transferring all the treasures onto Logan's boat, Alvida's minions sailed away hastily, as if fleeing. Thank you so much. Kobe cowed out on the deck to Logan and Luffy, expressing his gratitude. Only when it was confirmed that Alvida's ship had truly departed did Kobe allow himself to relax a bit. What are you doing? Luffy wore a puzzled expression, his face adorned with question marks. You are my saviors. Thanks to meeting you, I can escape from Alvida's shadow. Kobe looked up at Luffy, his face adorned with a grateful and flattering smile. Luffy, even more confused, scratched his head. Since you don't want to stay with her, why not find a chance to escape? Run away, run away? No, impossible. No way. Every time I think of Ms. Alvida's mace, my legs go limp. Some horrifying memories seemed to resurface, causing Kobe, who had been communicating normally, to even stutter. His head was dripping with sweat, and his expression conveyed horror. It's terrible. Kobe was in a state of panic. Observing Kobe's reaction, Luffy placed his hands on his hips and, with a sincere smile, remarked, Well, you are really stupid and useless, and you are also cowardly. Kobe's face turned into a display of distress. Why did you smile so sincerely while saying such hurtful things? Yes, cowardly people have no future. Kobe, don't you have any dream? Logan interjected. Dream? Kobe hesitated, his gaze drifting toward the pirate flag hanging on the mast. Don't even dare to say your own dream? Then you are really Hobaris. Logan rested his chin and shook his head with a hint of resentment. Having known from the mangas that Kobe was cowardly, witnessing it firsthand made Logan realize that using the term cowardly to describe Kobe might be an understatement. It was like trying to build a wall with mud that couldn't support it. Logan's words seemed to touch a nerve in Kobe, awakening his last semblance of courage. Huh. Kobe took a deep breath, clenched his fist vigorously. A self-deprecating smile suddenly appeared on his face, and he said bitterly, "Can someone like me join the Marines?" "Marines?" Luffy froze for a moment. "Yes. Although I will become enemies with you, as a Marine, I will become stronger and catch all the bad guys." Speaking with newfound determination, Kobe, teary-eyed and sweating, shouted at the two people in front of him with an aura he had never used before. "This has been my dream since I was a child. Look, it's actually not that difficult to shout out your dreams, huh?" Logan walked up to Kobe, smiled, and patted his shoulder. "Huh. Yeah, I feel much happier when I say it. The fear of Alvida in my heart seems to be reduced." Kobe felt that his breathing became smoother. "Actually, if you have the courage, it is not difficult to realize your dreams. If I remember correctly, the Marine base closest to here should be in Shell's Town. When you get there, join the Marines. More than half of your dream have been realized. As for the next road, it depends on you. Good luck." With a character like Kobe, Logan had no intention of recruiting him into the group. Moreover, recruiting members into the team was the captain's decision. If there were no special circumstances, Logan did not want to deviate from the plot direction. If one element went awry, it could trigger a butterfly effect, and the Straw Hats might not be as cool as expected, impacting Logan as well. Really? Not long ago, he was a slave on Alvida's ship, and now he was on the verge of realizing his dream? Kobe couldn't believe this fact. But upon reflection, yes. Shell's Town was not far from here, and once he arrived there, joining the Marines meant he no longer had to worry about Alvida chasing him. "You are right, Logan's more than a factor." Kobe's confidence increased, but the next moment his face showed worry again. "But, are you willing to take me to Shell's Town?" Logan shrugged. "As long as you can navigate this ship to Shell's Town, we will get you there. I'm not going to lie, we're both sailing idiots." Hearing this, Kobe was excited. "No problem, this voyage is on me." In the control cabin, Kobe carefully observed the ocean current while steering the ship. "I found it. It's this ocean current. As long as you go straight along this stream, you will soon reach Shell's Town." After confirming the course, Kobe fixed the rudder. No further action was required until reaching the port. "I wonder what Luffy and Logan are up to." With nothing to control for the time being, Kobe immediately thought of Luffy and Logan. After all, they were the first good guys he had encountered since growing up. Upon reaching the deck, he saw Luffy looking at something. "Ah! Damn it! Can't defeat that guy. I'll try again. Hey! I just remembered. It was the last chance for today. It seems we'll have to wait until tomorrow." Luffy yelled in frustration. "Luffy, are you reading mangas?" Kobe moved closer, his eyes falling on the manga book in Luffy's hand. A little curious, he cautiously asked. "Can you let me see it?" "That won't work. I still need this manga for important things. If you lose it, I'll be in trouble." Luffy waved his hand and refused directly. "Oh." Kobe didn't dare say anything more. About to leave timidly, he heard Luffy's hearty voice. "But if you want to read mangas, you can go to Logan. He has drawn a lot of mangas. There must be something you like." "Is this drawn by Logan?" "Of course. He's a mangaka." "Really?" "Logan is amazing." "Well, you don't need to say this. Go, I will take you to him." With that said, Luffy took Kobe and entered the cabin. Soon, the two arrived at Logan's studio. "Luffy?" Pausing the paintbrush in his hand, Logan said suspiciously. "You don't think you want another manga, do you? Hasn't a copy of Akame J Kill cut off your interest yet? Luffy shook his head. Ah no. It's Kobe. He also wants to read mangas, so I brought him to you. So that's the way it is. Kobe, you can choose one yourself. Logan readily agreed. As a mangaka, Logan felt proud when more people read his mangas. While Logan had prevented Luffy from coming to his studio to avoid any potential destruction, it was not because he didn't want to share his mangas with Luffy. Ah. Thank you? Thank you? Kobe was very grateful. When he reached the bookshelf, he didn't dare to take too long, selecting one at random and quickly returning. Oh, that's right. Kobe, this manga is for you. Seeing Luffy and Kobe leaving, Logan suddenly realized that he would soon part ways with Kobe when they reached Shell's Town. Although Kobe's character was not the most pleasing, his interest in Logan's mangas hinted at a shared vision. It's just a manga, a parting gift. Upon hearing this, Kobe was deeply moved. He hadn't received a gift from others since childhood, and now he was not only rescued by Logan but also given a manga. Thank you, Logan! I promise I will cherish this manga. In his heart, Kobe had so much to express. This is a symbol of our friendship. Yet, he couldn't articulate it, fearing that he wasn't worthy of discussing friendship with Logan. But no matter what his thoughts, Kobe, in his heart, would always remember Logan's kindness. Chapter 13. Upon entering the cabin, Kobe carefully retrieved the manga book cradled in his arms. Book title: Demon Slayer, Zenitsu. After perusing the first episode, Kobe was captivated. He discovered that the protagonist shared a striking resemblance to him in character, both timid and reserved. Wow, no! I thought Zenitsu was as timid as me. Unexpectedly, he's even more timid than me. Ahahaha. He's so cute. If he wasn't a character in the mangas, I would definitely be able to become good friends with him. Chuckling heartily, Kobe continued reading. Bastards, these guys actually bully girls? It's over, the coward Zenitsu is the only one around these two girls. Observing the manga's plot, Kobe felt uneasy. He knew that if it were him, he definitely wouldn't dare to make a move. What's more, Zenitsu was even more timid than him. Anticipating a miserable fate for the two girls in the next chapter, Kobe turned to the next page. However, the image on the next page left Kobe in shock. Nanny! Kobe couldn't believe that the boy, who was evidently more cowardly than him, had actually stood up. He fought desperately with the bad guys, and despite being covered in bruises, he was finally knocked out. But he stood up. Kobe felt his cheeks burn hot. Just moments ago, he thought Zenitsu was more cowardly than him. But now, Zenitsu slapped Kobe hard with his actual actions. Made him understand. Zenitsu is a pure man. And the clown is only me. Kobe was in a state of depression for a long time before continuing to read. Then he saw the former Thunder Hashira Jagoro Kawajima accepted him as his apprentice. Kobe's eyes showed envy. How wonderful it would be if I could meet such a person. Crash! Ah! The howling of wild wolves resounded in his ears. The lingering mountain wind violently slapped Kobe's face, and the sensation was incredibly vivid. What happened? Momentarily bewildered, Kobe looked around. When he saw Zenitsu practicing in the cold wind and Jigoro Kawajima standing aside, carefully guiding him, he was completely stunned. Zenitsu. Rubbing his eyes vigorously, Kobe thought he was hallucinating. Then he slapped himself again. The hallucinations haven't gone away. No, this is not an illusion. Who are you? Jigoro Kawajima looked at Kobe, a little surprised. After all, he is the former Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corp. He is strong, needless to say. However, when the little guy in front of him appeared, he didn't feel anything before. It is a good seedling. My name is Kobe. Suddenly encountering this situation, Kobe panicked even more. Little guy, what are you doing here? Jigoro Kawajima became interested in Kobe and walked over slowly. He looked at Kobe's fearful and cowardly look. Wasn't he carved out of the same mold as Zenitsu? Moreover, to be able to follow here without the old man noticing, this is a talent. Do. Yeah, what am I doing here? No, I have no idea how I got here. Kobe was full of fear, not knowing what to say. Hey, do you also want to learn? At this time, Zenitsu asked curiously. Apart from wanting to learn, I really can't think of any other reason for being able to follow this deep into the mountain. Assassination? Stop it! Looking at it like this, you can tell it's impossible at a glance. Learn? Hearing what Zenitsu said, Kobe was taken aback for a moment. But then, a strong desire welled up in his heart. Yes. How wonderful it would be if I could also learn from this old man. Can I do it too? The lack of self-confidence from the inside out was evident on his face. Little guy, as long as you want to learn, of course, you can. Jigoro Kawajima came to Kobe, with a kind smile on his face, and he stretched out his hand to Kobe. Would you like to be my apprentice? I wish. I am willing. So flattered that Kobe's heart almost jumped out of his throat. Ahahaha. This is really good. Jigoro Kawajima pulled Kobe up, and he was in a great mood. Zenitsu also ran over. Haha, let me introduce myself. My name is Zenitsu, and I am your senior brother. Well, my name is Kobe. Thank you. Feeling the warmth of being valued by others, Kobe's tears flowed down immediately. Chapter 14. The next day, Luffy got up early and went to the deck, stretched his waist, and planned to enter the world of Akame Kill. But at this moment, Kobe's shout came. Here we are! We have arrived at Shell's town! Have we arrived? Let me see. Luffy stretched out his hand to build a pergola in front of his eyes and looked towards the bow of the ship. Sure enough, the silhouette of an island had appeared ahead. Great! The pirate hunter you mentioned is here, right? When chatting with Kobe yesterday, Luffy learned that in this sea, there is a powerful swordsman named Roronoa Zoro, who is a bounty hunter by profession and specializes in catching pirates in exchange for bounties. Upon learning about such a formidable character, Luffy's immediate reaction was, this person, I want him on my crew. If he hadn't escaped, he must still be there. While on Alvida's ship, Kobe read in the newspaper that Roronoa Zoro had been captured by Shellstown Marine. It should have been several days. Great! I can't wait! Rubbing his hands together, Luffy was excited. Suddenly, he turned his head to look at Kobe, tilting his head. You seem to have become more confident. When a person changes, the most undisguised thing is their confidence. Luffy could tell right away. Kobe chuckled and then said calmly, Well, Luffy, do you know? I encountered a very miraculous thing. I actually got into the manga book that Logan gave me yesterday. I met two people inside, and even worshipped one of the old grandfathers as my teacher. There is also a young man who is as timid and cowardly as me. He is my senior brother. I feel that I have a very similar personality with him. Thinking of the adventure he had while reading mangas yesterday, Kobe's words flowed like a torrential river. Suddenly, he realized that he seemed to have been talking for a long time and stopped immediately. I know, it must be difficult for you to believe what I said, but this is what really happened. Ahahaha. I believe what you said. Because I also entered the manga world. What? Did you go in too? Of course, this is a manga drawn by Logan, of course, you can enter it. Luffy explained, relying on his own imagination. Kobe suddenly realized. Is this so? So, Logan actually knows that we have entered the manga world? That's for sure. Luffy seemed to have figured everything out. He patted Kobe on the shoulder and said, Logan is a powerful man. His manga has magical powers. I think he made this manga for me. It's just tailor-made for me. Exactly. As if he had found a confidant all of a sudden, Kobe nodded again and again. Yes, this manga book I took is also super suitable for me. It is just specially drawn for me. To tell you the truth, I was still thinking about whether to ask Logan about it. No, use it. Luffy understood again. With his hands on his hips, he looked like he was pointing out. Let me tell you, I've already done what you want to do. As a result, before I even opened my mouth, Logan knew everything. So, you asking will only delay his drawing time. Ahaha, yes. I'm so stupid. Since Logan's manga has such a magical ability, how could he not know about it? I'm really grateful to him. Kobe scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Then, he turned his head to look towards the bow of the ship, and the island was already in front of him. Here we are. Do you want to call Logan to get off the boat together? That's a must. Luffy took a stride, loosened his muscles, and rushed into the cabin with a whoosh. Is this the island where Shell's Town is located? Called out by Luffy, Logan stood at the bow of the boat and looked at the coastline that was getting closer and closer. Speaking of which, it's a bit sad. It has been a year since his travel, and this is the first time Logan has seen the land of the pirate world. The tall croaking tree and the huge marine base, which belonged to the unique landscape style of the One Piece world, suddenly rushed forward. I have to say that Logan likes this style very much. Marine Base East Blue Subbase, Branch 153 is located on this island. What do you hear? Here is the Marine Base, which represents justice, so the lives of the people should be very healthy. But in fact, as the base commander of this base, Captain Morgan, is a guy who was once killed the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, Kuro. In a marine conflict between marine and pirate, Morgan became the only survivor. Kuro uses his partner hypnosis technique to Morgan, so that Kuro can escape from and become a dead man. As for Morga, killing the pirate Kuro, he got promoted to the base chief of Section 153. Then began his tyranny over this place. Not only are the civilians on the entire island living under the shadow of his rule, but even the marine soldiers are worried every day because if they don't pay attention, they may be hacked and killed by Morgan at will. According to Kobe's information, Zoro should be locked in the marine base at this time. Let's go! Find that man named Roronoa Zoro! Luffy grinned and jumped off the boat first. Come on, let's get off the boat too, Logan said, and walked down the string bridge. Kobe followed suit. Chapter 15. Swordsman in the Future. Can't you see it a bit? After setting foot on the ground of Shell's Town, the three of them first went to fill their stomachs, and then came to the vicinity of Branch 153. Logan looked up at the tall marine base building. The body of the building is like a bunker, with green camouflage stripes and cannons on the top, which seems to be full of a strong sense of oppression. Since the pirate hunter named Zoro has been caught here, I'll climb up to have a look first. Walking to the wall, Luffy reached out his hand. Whoosh! The attributes of the rubber man allowed him to climb up the wall immediately. Hey! I seem to have found it! As soon as he got on the wall, Luffy let out a surprise, and then he stretched out his hands and pulled Logan and Kobe up. 3 people sat in a row on the wall. What? Kobe wasn't ready yet, and when he caught sight of the man in the middle of the square, he uttered a horrified cry and fell off the wall. Luffy looked confused. What's the matter, Kobe? Black hood, green girdle, really Roronoa Zoro. Okay, so intimidating then, that's Zoro. Although Kobe's strength has improved somewhat, he has not reached the level of transformation after all. The moment he saw Zoro's face clearly, the cowardice in his heart was aroused again. Is he really the pirate hunter Zoro you mentioned? But it seems that the rope is easy to break? Luffy became more and more puzzled. Isn't it said that Zoro is a devilish pirate hunter? How could he be tied up with such a thin rope and be helpless? Don't be kidding! If you let that guy escape, not only will the people in the town be in bad situation, but even you will be killed. Kobe still knows Shell's Town very well, and he knows how terrifying Captain Morgan is. But at this moment Zoro, who was tied to the cross, raised his head. Hey boy over there! Come and help me, Untie this rope, please. I have been tied for 9 days, and I am too tired gone. Speak, speak! Kobe, who had just climbed up again, shrank his head subconsciously when he heard Zoro's words. Look, that guy is smiling. Luffy sat with his legs up and his legs up, watching curiously with his chin resting on his hands. Luffy, didn't you say you wanted to invite him to the crew? Why don't you go over there? Logan reminded. Luffy remained unmoved. Kobe said he was a big devil, so I haven't figured it out yet. Just as he was talking, a wooden ladder leaned against the wall next to the three of them. Then a little girl climbed up. Shh. The little girl made a silent gesture to the three, and then slid down the fence. Kobe shouted nervously. Hey, hey! What is she going to do? Get close to that person and she will be killed. I don't think so, Logan said with certainty. Why? Luffy turned his head and asked curiously. Logan shrugged. As you know, I am a mangaka, so my ability to associate is very strong. Judging from this scene, I guess this little girl is here to repay her kindness. Repaying kindness? Impossible! Kobe looked suspicious. That is the pirate hunter known as the Devil. What kindness could he do to a little girl? Don't believe me? Then let's ask. With that said, Logan jumped off the fence and followed the little girl towards Zoro. Although he has no output, his speed and defense are ridiculously high. There is nothing to say about self-preservation ability. Do you want to go in? Seeing Logan go in, Kobe was immediately deserted. Hey, Luffy, why don't you? Seeing that Luffy followed suit, Kobe almost cried. He looked left and right, finally mustered up the courage, and followed. You are looking for death, brat. Get out of here! Zoro glanced at the little girl who came to him, and said fiercely. However, the little girl seemed indifferent to his fake ruthlessness. Her dark eyes were full of light. I made rice balls for you. Big brother has been tied up all the time, he must be very hungry. I said I'm not hungry. Hurry up and take the things away. Zoro yelled again. Luffy's face became gloomy, and he rubbed his arms. I want to punch someone now. Wait. Don't you want to ask why this little girl brought Zoro food first? Logan grabbed Luffy's face and pulled him back. It seems reasonable. Certainly. Here's a revised version of the conversation. Luffy paused, eyeing the little girl. Why are you giving him rice balls? Don't blame him. Big brother is actually a good guy. The girl explained eagerly. She launched into an incessant explanation. About 10 days prior, a wolf raised by Captain Morgan's bully son, Helmeppo, had nearly bitten the little girl. Zoro swooped in, dispatching the wolf and confronting Helmeppo. Initially, Zoro could have departed, but Helmeppo had threatened retaliation against the little girl's family if he left. To resolve the situation, Zoro struck a deal. He would willingly be tied to a cross for a month in exchange for absolving the issue. Nanny! Luffy's anger dissipated upon understanding the truth. He approached Zoro. Hey, kid! Why the stare? Zoro's gaze remained intense. Luffy faced Zoro, boldly declaring. Hey, I'm Luffy. I'll untie you and you can join me as my crew. Luffy! He's a notorious devil. Kobe interjected, alarmed by Luffy's directness. Chapter 16. Huh? Pirates? Zoro expressed surprise. Please! I won't stoop to becoming a pirate. Zoro immediately refused the offer to join the pirates. What's wrong with being a pirate? It's my dream. Luffy spread his hands, changing the subject. Besides, being labeled a villain doesn't change much. I'm not like you. You can find someone else. Even if you don't help me untie the rope, I'll manage as long as I stay here for a month. Zoro stated firmly, shaking his head. In Zoro's view, pirates were despicable. A belief reinforced by his encounters with many of them. Luffy rubbed his chin in contemplation. This seems a bit tricky to handle. Why can't it be more like Logan? Luffy pondered. Suddenly, thoughts of Logan crossed Luffy's mind. Luffy, just don't bother him about it. It's hard to convince idiot like him, Logan said. Those words triggered an immediate response from Zoro. Hey! What did that jerk say about me? Yeah? Logan, how did you figure out he is an idiot? Luffy chimed in, also curious. Didn't he just say that? He's trusting Helmeppo to honor his word after threatening innocent lives. That's just idiotic, Logan calmly explained. After contemplating for a moment, Luffy nodded in agreement. Exactly. Anyone who can use innocent lives as leverage can't be trusted to keep his promise. Hearing their words, Zoro's heart raced. It seemed increasingly true. Yet, having endured for 9 days, Zoro remained steadfast, refusing to admit he'd made a foolish decision. No way! I struck a deal with him. If I don't endure these 30 days, he will let me go, Zoro stubbornly insisted. Hey! What a lively scene! A dapper young man with bobbed hair entered the square with a few marine soldiers. Don't you dare move! The man commanded. Have you seen this sign? He gestured to a notice board. It clearly states that anyone aiding the prisoner will be treated as an accomplice. Pointing at the little girl, he added with a smug smile. Even the little girl? Logan glanced back. Ah, perfect. The Captain Foolish son has arrived to stir things up. He spoke up, addressing Helmeppo. Hey! Helmeppo! You never intended to let Zoro go from the start, did you? Huh! How dare you speak to a young master in such a manner? Helmeppo's frown deepened as he glared at Logan. Then, a maniacal grin crept across his face. Ha! But you're right! This fool believed my lies and willingly remained tied up in this square for 9 days. In truth, I plan to execute him in 3 days, just before he starves to death. I want him to understand the consequences of crossing a young master like me. And now there's you. Talking to him, that is a capital offense. Boom! Luffy's fist collided with Helmeppo's face, causing several of his teeth to scatter through the air. Withdrawing his fist, Luffy placed his hands on his hips and gazed at Helmeppo lying on the ground. Logan was right. You've been deceiving Zoro from the start. Zoro's eyes widened in surprise. Helmeppo shook his head, the stars in front of him gradually fading away. He groaned and managed to form words, shouting in shock and anger. How dare you hit me? Kill them! Several marine soldiers raised their guns, but Luffy's swift punches knocked them to the ground. Helmeppo was dumbfounded, then he fiercely threatened. I'll tell my dad! You're all dead! Snapped, asterisk. Stepping down with one foot, Logan stepped on all of Helmeppo's facial features together, not Luffy this time, but Logan himself. Approaching Helmeppo, Logan knelt down slowly, observing the bleeding Helmeppo in front of him. He pointed at Helmeppo and spoke flatly. Why are you bringing your father in front of someone like Luffy? Wait, Logan, don't act rashly. His father is Captain Morgan, the most influential figure in Shell's town. Kobe intervened, restraining Logan from escalating the situation. Hearing Kobe's words, Helmeppo became increasingly terrified. That's right. My father is a captain in the Marines. He's the supreme authority in all of Shell's town. You're finished. Logan glanced at Helmeppo with a tinge of sympathy, shaking his head slightly. You're a frog in a well. Just because your father is a mere Marine captain doesn't make you all-powerful, Logan retorted, uninterested in explaining anything further. He then raised his head and swiftly knocked Helmeppo unconscious with a punch. Chapter 17. You guys are pretty gutsy. You know, if you weren't pirates, I might like you a bit. Zoro's perspective on Luffy and Logan began to shift as he watched them take down Helmeppo one after another. But he still couldn't shake off his deep-rooted reservations about pirates. It felt like a pig butcher who had spent years slaughtering pigs suddenly being asked by a pig to be its crew. Would the butcher agree? However, this time, Zoro encountered a persistent pig. I like you too. Join me as my crew. Luffy invited Zoro once again, uninterrupted by Helmeppo's protests. I have my own path to follow. I'm not interested in becoming a pirate and being a villain. Zoro firmly declined. I've never strayed from my beliefs, and I won't in the future. I don't care. I've already decided that you'll be my crew. Luffy seemed innocuous. Zoro felt a mix of confusion and frustration. Hey! Stop deciding on your own. By the way, I heard you're skilled with sword. Luffy calmly asked, seemingly oblivious to Zoro's exasperation. Yes, I truly would have shown you. If I hadn't been tied up. Zoro lamented. What about your sword? Luffy inquired. That bastard took it. Zoro gestured towards the grounded Helmeppo. Recalling his sensei and Kuina, Zoro gritted his teeth. That sword is as precious to me as life itself. Oh. That's important. Luffy's face lit up with a mischievous grin. All right, I'll help you retrieve the sword from that guy. Thank you. I'll remember this favor. Zoro acknowledged gratefully. Zoro nodded, thankful that Luffy was helping with his sword situation. Luffy grabbed Helmeppo from the ground and raised him up. Crackling sounds filled the air as Helmeppo slowly regained consciousness amidst a burst of crisp, melodic applause. Hey, did you take Zoro's sword? Luffy questioned. Huh. Helmeppo paused, then nodded groggily. I did take it. Great! Take me to where the sword is. Without hesitation, Luffy sprinted towards the marine base, dragging Helmeppo along. Oh, and remember, if you want the sword, you have to be my crew! Luffy shouted back at Zoro before dashing off. Hearing this, Zoro was stunned for a moment before his features twisted in disbelief. Hey! That's so underhanded! Since you agreed, I'm off! Luffy yelled without looking back, disappearing into the distance with Helmeppo in tow. What? Who agreed? Hey, wait! Zoro shouted after Luffy, but it was futile. Is he really going to break into the marine base? Aren't you going to stop him? Zoro turned to Logan, suddenly concerned. That's the marine base. Breaking in means certain death. Zoro reminded urgently. Logan grinned. You seem to care a lot for your crew. Crew? Zoro protested. Hey! Don't label me like that. I can't be crews with pirates. If you don't stop him, you won't have a captain. Worried about your own captain, huh? Logan chuckled, patting Zoro on the shoulder. I get your worry. I'll go check it out. Despite Luffy's strength, Logan thought it best to handle the matter of breaking into the marine base alone. Having him there would at least ensure Luffy's safety. Soon, amidst Helmeppo's protests, the two vanished through the front gate. Huh! Luffy and Logan broke in. Kobe, seemingly taken aback, voiced his surprise. Zoro nodded with a sigh. Yeah, those two are causing a ruckus as usual. Upon witnessing Kobe's actions, he promptly cautioned. If you undo my restraints, you'll meet the same fate. Struggling, Kobe's countenance tightened as he persisted in untying the rope. Through gritted teeth, he uttered. They've no grounds to detain you. I can't stand seeing the Marines act this way. In the future, I must embody the dream of an honorable Marine, just as Luffy aspires to find One Piece. What? One Piece? Are you serious? Zoro's expression twisted in disbelief. Boom! In that instant, a bullet swiftly pierced through Kobe. What? With a cry, Kobe collapsed to the ground. How dare you defy Captain Morgan's orders and attempt to rescue the pirate hunter? Several Marine soldiers emerged from a nearby door, brandished their weapons at the three individuals left at the execution site. I've been shot? I'm bleeding. Am I going to die? Kobe lay on the ground, hands soaked in blood, wearing a look of utter despair. You're still alive! Zoro was left speechless. This person seemed excessively timid. Suddenly realizing something, he turned away, shouting to Kobe. Get up and escape with her. Escape? Captain Morgan is already aware of this situation. None of you should stay here. Even this little girl. The Marines admonished. Big brother, let me untie the rope for you. The young girl lacked a precise understanding of the danger. Her only focus was on rescuing her older brother, ignorant of the risk involved. Stop! That's a serious offense! A Marine soldier yelled, aiming the gun at the little girl. Observing the girl's attempt, Zoro shouted, No, they'll shoot! Nevertheless, the little girl showed no intention of halting. Her small hand had already gripped the knot. Ka 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 ka! The distinct sound of the safety lock being released resonated. The barrel of the gun was now directed at the little girl's back, a menacing black hole waiting. Give me the sword! Zoro, gripped by urgency, shouted at Koby. Sword! Sword! In a state of confusion, Koby's thoughts raced. Subconsciously, he extended his hand and brushed against the scabbard of a fallen Marine soldier nearby. Sword! Sword! I can use a sword too. Damn it! How dare you defy Captain Morgan's orders? We can't even tolerate a little girl. Otherwise, Captain Morgan will have us killed. One final warning! This isn't good. I need to save her. Ignoring the pain from the gunshot, Koby's face displayed intense anxiety. Breathe, breathe, yes, Master taught me. Breath of thunder. Stubborn, shoot! After 2 warnings, a Marine soldier clenched his teeth and commanded. But in that very moment, whoosh! A streak of blinding white light. Like lightning breaching the barrier. Bang, 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 bang. Several Marine soldiers lost consciousness before they could comprehend what had occurred. Chapter 18. Bang, 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 bang. Zoro stood in dumbfounded shock as the Marine soldiers collapsed to the ground. His gaping mouth nearly reached the floor. After a while, he gazed at Koby in disbelief. You're a formidable swordsman. Moments ago, he had regarded Koby as overly timid. But in the blink of an eye, Koby revealed his true prowess. Huh! Koby panted heavily, sweat pouring down. Yesterday, in the world of Demon Slayer Zenitsu, he had practiced the breath of thunder with Jigoro Kawajima. Despite not yet mastering the fundamental technique, his current grasp of thunder's breath proved more than sufficient to handle a few Marine soldiers. Me? Koby winced as he approached, his face drained of color. While using the sword to free Zoro, he explained, Truth be told, I'm a useless fool. If I hadn't crossed paths with Logan and Luffy, I might have remained a slave to someone else forever. Having this kind of strength would have been even more unimaginable. Slave? Zoro was puzzled. Koby nodded. Yes. Just yesterday, I was a handyman on Alvida's ship, trapped with no chance of escape. It was Logan and Luffy who rescued me. Pirates saving lives. The notion struck a chord in Zoro's heart. Over the years, he had encountered countless pirates, each more nefarious than the last. But a saving pirate. A concept he hadn't encountered before. Is this really a reality? Why not utilize your incredible swordsmanship skills to escape? Zoro couldn't fathom the lightning-fast lethal move Koby had just executed. You're so powerful, yet you're content being subservient to others. Even if you can't defeat Alvida, wouldn't finding an opportunity to flee be straightforward? No. Didn't I just mention that? I began learning swordsmanship only after being rescued by Logan yesterday. What? Zoro's eyes widened. You've just begun learning swordsmanship yesterday, and you've already at this level? Every move he made emitted sparks and lightning. What kind of uncanny talent was this? No. You mean you just started learning swordsmanship yesterday? Zoro, feeling perplexed, asked again. Koby nodded, affirming. Yes. I learned it from a manga book created by Logan. A manga book? Zoro was incredulous. What do you mean, manga books, regarding swordsmanship? Oh, right. I was as shocked as you are. Koby replied. Logan is a manga artist who possesses the manga fruit. His drawn manga can be entered, and I acquired this swordsmanship from one of those worlds. Upon hearing Kobe's explanation, Zoro's breathing quickened. Devil fruit. Although he'd never seen one, he'd certainly heard of it. If it's due to the devil fruit, then any sort of magic seems plausible. I see. Kobe glanced at Zoro and continued. If you also wish to enter the manga world to master swordsmanship, you could join their pirate crew. Logan is incredibly kind. He helped a destitute fellow like me. I'm sure he'd be willing to help you too. Entering the manga world to learn swordsmanship. Zoro was genuinely thrilled. Huh? What just happened here? Logan's voice snapped Zoro out of his reverie. Glancing at the extra marine soldiers on the ground and the untied Zoro, Logan immediately grasped the situation. Zoro gazed at Logan before him. This was the person who had transformed Kobe into a formidable swordsman in just one day. Then, Luffy's exuberant voice cut in between Zoro and Logan. Hey! Take a look, which one's yours? Luffy held out 3-sword and inquired. The 3-sword are all mine. I use a 3-sword style, Zoro asserted, moving to claim the sword. However, Luffy, not allowing Zoro to take them unchallenged, grinned and stated. It's settled. Take the sword, and you're my crew. Oh, in that case, let's set sail. Luffy nodded solemnly and tugged Logan away. Hey, hey, hey! My sword! Zoro hurried to catch up and grabbed Luffy. What sword? Isn't this my plunder from the Marines? Luffy stated seriously, glancing at Logan. Logan nodded, raising his hand. That's correct. It's your spoils. I bear witness. Zoro felt disheartened. But it did seem to be true. He had lost his sword, which he should reclaim from the Marines. The sword in Luffy's possession was indeed seized from the Marines. What justification did Zoro have to demand its return? As he watched the two depart, Zoro contemplated. Suddenly he shouted, Hey, Luffy! I heard you're aiming to become the king of the pirates. Huh! Who leaked that news? Luffy turned, one hand picking his nose. Unbelievable. Picking his nose and then touching my sword. Cough, cough, Luffy, I meant. Kobe cautiously raised his hand, wearing an apologetic expression. With Luffy's confirmation, Zoro assumed a stance. Hey, future king of the pirates, let's have a fight! Chapter 19. Hey! Future king of the pirates, fight with me! Upon hearing these challenging words, Luffy was instantly invigorated, spinning around abruptly. Without wasting a moment, he hurled the 3-sword he held directly at Zoro, eagerly asking, I win, and you'll join me? Zoro skillfully caught the 3-sword and reattached them to his belt, treating it with reverence, as if it were his beloved wife. Then, the 3-sword were unsheathed. Engaging in the 3-sword style, using hands and mouth, Zoro raised his head, emitting a fierce fighting spirit. Let's discuss things if you can win. Then it's settled. Luffy grinned and immediately launched a straight punch. Rubber pistol. His arm extended like rubber, aiming directly for Zoro's chest. Swift as a rabbit, Zoro leaped from the ground, narrowly evading the rubber fist. The wind generated by the punch tousled Zoro's hood. Closing the gap between them, Zoro darted toward Luffy. Double sword style, 2 cuts. In an instant, Zoro wielded the 2 swords horizontally, dashing at an incredible speed. The glinting blades traced arcs in the air, slashing toward Luffy's waist like scenes from a rapid-paced film. Wow! That's incredible! Luffy's eyes widened as he extended his legs and leaped, skillfully evading Zoro's strike. Despite his dodge, Luffy remained assertive. Rubber whip! As the roll concluded, Luffy's rubbery limbs stretched out, aiming to pull Zoro closer. Zoro countered the blow and swiftly maneuvered, closing the distance with Luffy once more. Well done! Luffy exclaimed, abandoning evasion and instead bellowing loudly. Rubber Gatling gun! Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. His fists moved like the wind, raining down relentlessly. The punches were lightning fast, each creating an elongated illusion, as if an onslaught of countless fists were overwhelming Zoro in that moment. Mito Stream! Zoro's vigorous shout accompanied the three blades slicing through the air, methodically countering Luffy's barrage. Three sword-style demons slashing! The two swords slashed while the third blocked the path of Luffy's escape. Zoro's movements were swift, charging towards Luffy's exposed back. Wow! Luffy extended his long arms to grasp the nearby fence, swiftly pulling himself aside. Swish! The lingering wind from Zoro's slashes tore through the air. Crash! The wooden cross behind Luffy splintered into 3 pieces. Wow! That was a close call! Luffy rubbed his arm. Despite his timely reaction, he still felt the impact of Zoro's slashing wind. No bloodshed, but a tingling sensation lingered in his feet. Awesome! You managed to evade my demon slash. I'm starting to recognize your strength, Zoro declared, exerting his strength. Irrespective of whether Zoro was exceptionally strong, each of his moves carried immense force. Incredible. Now that the warm-up's done, I'm getting serious, Luffy affirmed, ready to give his all. Luffy shook his arms and approached Zoro confidently. Over? You're calling what just happened a warm-up? Zoro spun around, incredulous. Are you kidding me? You still have that much strength left? Yes. Luffy replied with a smirk, stepping forward. What? Logan, observing the battle, widened his eyes in shock and muttered, No way. Isn't this move? Curious, he heard Luffy shout. Gear change. Second gear. Puff! Logan coughed out an old gulp. What on earth? What's happening? As a dedicated manga fan, Logan distinctly remembered that Luffy first utilized the second gear during the Enies lobby battle. But where was this happening now? Is this really the second gear? Taking a deep breath, Logan tried to comprehend the situation. Could it be the world's version of Luffy was trained earlier? Even though Logan couldn't quite grasp the situation, upon reflection, wasn't this a fortunate turn of events? If Luffy's advancements began earlier, then he could progress more steadily toward the climax. With a loud yell from Luffy, steam billowed out of his body, and his skin turned a fiery red. The momentum of Luffy surged dramatically, transforming him into an entirely different persona. Just a warm-up earlier. Zoro wiped the remaining sweat from his face, eyes wide with astonishment, as he observed Luffy. Facing the previous version of Luffy, Zoro hadn't sensed much. But now, he felt as though he stood before a fierce, unleashed beast, ready to explode with tremendous force at any moment. There was an unmistakable aura of strength emanating from Luffy, only seen in the mighty. My strength now is not what it was before. I'm about to get serious. You better brace yourself for this strike, Luffy announced, rubbing his fists together, assuming a stance like a released beast. As he lifted his head, the gleam in his eyes was razor-sharp. All right. The stronger you are, the more I relish it. Such battles are the most thrilling. Zoro clenched his teeth, tightly gripping the two-sword, focusing all his attention on the impending clash. Tiger, hunt! Engage! Zoro unleashed his mightiest blows yet, the two-sword lights slashing through the sky. If you're a monster, then I am the monster hunter. Tiger hunt! Sword light and shadow intertwined in a chilling display. Zoro aimed for Luffy's silhouette. But reality often veers from the ideal. Whoosh! With the speed surge from the second gear, Luffy left only an afterimage for Zoro and leaped into the air. Rubber jet rocket! Boom! Before the sound echoed, Luffy's attack struck. Zoro sensed it but had no time to counter. A resounding crash. Chapter 20. On the cracked ground, Zoro lay sprawled, leaving behind a visible mark. Will you be my crew this time? Luffy approached, extending a friendly hand to Zoro. Wait. I haven't lost yet. Among the fissures on the ground, Zoro didn't accept Luffy's hand. Gritting his teeth, he staggered to his feet. His gaze remained resolute. Come on, let's fight again. Hey! Observing Zoro's bruised face, Luffy scratched his head, shaking it. No need, I'm in second gear now, and my moves are entirely overwhelming. If you couldn't block my last strike, another round won't change the outcome. The gap between Luffy in the second gear and his earlier self was substantial. Unable to halt a single blow, infuriating. How can I, Zoro, be this weak? Desire for strength fueled Zoro. Clutching his sword, he shouted, I can still fight. He lifted his foot, retrieved the third sword from the ground, and clenched it between his teeth. Don't fight, don't fight. Luffy shook his head emphatically. You can't continue like this. I believe the winner is clear. Why persist? No! Luffy, keep fighting him! At that moment, Logan's voice caught Luffy's attention. What? Luffy was intrigued, gazing at Logan in confusion. But he can't handle my attacks anymore. If you call it off now, isn't that risking ending someone's fight? Logan's tone grew serious. He looked at Luffy intently. Remember, never dismiss a heart that yearns to grow stronger. Initially, Logan intended to let events unfold naturally and follow the storyline. However, observing the clash between Zoro and Luffy, he sensed something amiss. In this moment, Luffy and Zoro had just met, unaware of each other's personalities. But as a time traveler, Logan understood each individual's nature. If Luffy declined Zoro's continued challenge today, it might lead to discord between them. If Zoro wasn't part of this crew, could it rightfully be called the Straw Hat Pirates? No, it couldn't. Luffy! Engage him in a fight! Logan's demeanor turned serious as he pointed at Zoro, urging Luffy on. Never dismiss a strong heart. Fight him. Yes. Understanding the significance, Zoro gratefully nodded at Logan. His eyes sharpened, fixed on Luffy. Come on, let's fight again! Driven by those words, Zoro's emotions surged, his entire being ablaze with fighting spirit. All right, understood. Despite his usual carefree demeanor, Luffy sensed the fervor Zoro sought in this moment. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about perseverance. As a sign of respect, Zoro, I won't hold back. The question of cruise ship momentarily faded. Luffy now saw only a rival in Zoro's eyes. As Luffy unleashed his rubber jet dual guns, Zoro braced himself and miraculously managed to block the onslaught. He crossed his swords, using the flat sides to intercept Luffy's fists. Boom! An earth-shattering collision followed, exerting immense force onto the blades. In the next moment, disaster struck. The sword shattered under the overwhelming impact. The aftermath of Luffy's assault hit Zoro directly. Boom! Zoro was propelled like a cannonball, crashing into a distant wall. Sliding along it, he slumped into a corner, the area descending into an eerie silence. Kobe's eyes widened in horror, while the young girl Li Xiang covered her mouth in shock, unable to utter a word. Logan's gaze narrowed, his mind racing with thoughts. Standing still, fists clenched, Luffy gazed earnestly at Zoro, breaking the silence after a while. It's over. But in that very moment, Zoro, who appeared lifeless, defiantly lifted one arm and retrieved the sword from his mouth. This simple movement seemed to drain his last ounce of strength. He pressed the tip of the sword against the ground, the arm holding it trembling with effort. Clearly, Zoro was exerting every ounce of effort to rise again. You! Even Luffy was stunned by this determination. Logan breathed deeply, emotion stirring within him. The man before him. There were so many memorable moments, especially the resolute phrase uttered at Demon Island, still vivid in Logan's memory. As for why Zoro persisted, Logan could only say, that's just Zoro. I haven't lost yet. This time, Zoro gripped the handle of Wado Ikemanji's sword with both hands, straining as if he was borrowing life itself to stand once more. Clearly unable to fight any longer, he even needed the support of the sword just to stand upright. I have a question. Luffy calmly looked at Zoro, prompting him to speak. Speaking at this moment was excruciatingly difficult for Zoro. His mouth moved slightly, signal Luffy to continue. What keeps you going? Had it been any other question, Zoro might have refrained from speaking. But this question. Enduring intense pain, Zoro lowered his head, gazing at the sword, Wado, in his hand, displaying a resolute smile. Because I once made a promise to someone. I promised her that I would become the world's greatest swordsman. As he spoke, Zoro seemed to drift back to a few years ago. Under the starlit sky, the girl sat beside him, clutching her knees, tearfully expressing her longing. I envy you being a boy. I also want to become the world's greatest swordsman. Now that she was gone, he held on to her sword. It carried her dream. I promised her that until I fulfill that promise, With a heavy sigh, Zoro's face grew paler, almost devoid of color, yet he still bellowed desperately with all his might. Never will not fall! That wraps up this part of What If Creating the Strongest Straw Hat Crew by reading manga. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released 1 day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.